We are back on the road to glory. Can you smell that in the air, man? Smells like football season. Getting real close. College of Football 26 releases officially tomorrow. Summer training camp will be underway in just a couple of weeks at the Hall of Fame game, July 31st at the end of the month. It's the best time of the year. I'm your host, as usual, Sean. I'm joined today by my co-host, Stefan. Steph, brother, it's good vibes over here, man. I'm hoping it's the same over there. Talk to me.
Yeah, the vibes have been better recently. I think last time we spoke, it was kind of looking a little bleak in the recruiting department, but
Mm,
since then we've gotten some big time commits. We've gotten a 5 star and a really high ranked 4 star. Just yesterday we got a really high ranked 4 star. Jalen Lott. So things are rolling, man. We had right now I think we're sitting at number 9 in the country on 24/7.
okay.
But if you look at our actual average of the recruits ranks, we're definitely higher than that. I didn't look at
Mm-hmm.
all of them. Um, you know, like I didn't sort the rankings by the average of the recruits, but
Mm-hmm.
we're definitely higher than 9 if you look at it like by that because we know how it is, how much on these recruiting sites they kind of factor in the number of recruits.
Yeah.
Because compared to some of the other teams that are ranked higher than us, we don't have that many recruits. But like I said, if you look at the average ranking of the recruits, we're up there with everybody else. Like
Mm-hmm.
for example, we all know USC has the number one recruiting class right now, but they got 30 guys committed. Like we got like 14, and we have more 5 stars and obviously a higher blue chip ratio. So
Right.
things are going well, man. And I think by the time signing day comes around, we'll have a few more big time commits and things like that. I think our class is going to be just fine. I'm not really worried about it because again, like I'd rather have quality over quantity. And obviously some teams might feel like they need to bring in more guys and things like that. But when you got your roster really moving, you don't need to bring in 30 guys, 40 guys, including the portal. You really only need to bring in like 20 something guys. So
Right.
I think by the time signing day rolls around, we'll be floating around that top five. Even if we're not in the top five, I think we're gonna have a pretty good class. So I'm excited, man. Football is just closer and closer. Um, as we record, CFP 26 is available for the early access buyers.
Right.
I didn't get the early access because I didn't get the super expensive version of the game, and I don't play Madden, so there's really no reason for me to do that. Um, so I'm gonna get it on the 10th. Really, my disc is supposed to get here on the 11th, so we'll see what happens. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Got the game coming out, perfect timing in the summer, right before football season is starting. Everybody's hyped
Right.
for the year. Everybody's gonna be playing the game. It's just a lot of good stuff going on right now, man.
For sure. And that's I think that's what we're gonna mainly spend most of our time talking about today on this episode about the game. We'll deep dive into the official EA deep dive that they released. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll just give our overall thoughts on what we hope for, expect, and there's a lot of YouTube videos that have been dropping from the early access guys, so we've seen a lot. Got to see some stuff that maybe we don't love or do like, but before we get into that, there is a few other things that I would like to talk about. And you mentioned recruiting, so I was just kind of pulling them up. I follow On Three uh, more than 247 recently. I don't know. I just felt like 247 has fallen off a little bit to me.
You think so? See, I'm gonna look at on three, but I'm on 24/7 right now, and since I was talking about the average recruiting, the average ranking of
That's
the
just
of
more
the
minds
recruits.
together. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
of course,
Yeah.
and we take into account all these rankings of the major
Right. The
sites, but
composite. Yeah. We don't just go by
I
the
just
on
I just
three or the
yeah,
247.
exactly.
Yeah. The
But I just
composite is
wanted to
what
bring
matters.
up. I just wanted to bring up. Guess who has the number one when you sort it by the average
I was
ranking of the recruits?
I was just about to say, on three, Oregon is ranked is overall number 7. So,
But when you sort by average of the recruits, or at
mm-hmm.
least on 24/7, guess who's number one?
Yeah.
Just saying, just
So
saying.
right now, real quick, we'll run through the top 10 just for everybody who doesn't really follow recruiting, but as you know, if you are a fan of college football, recruiting is the heartbeat um, of just of the sport of championship programs. Obviously, the transfer portal has really changed the way that college football works and the way a lot of coaches structure and build teams. And we have seen success with the transfer portal. So it's definitely a new era. But I think we've seen at the top programs that just consistently win Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and et cetera. Those guys always are at the top 3, top 5 recruiting classes consistently every single year. And I think most people that have their eyes open see that. And so yeah, recruiting is really important. If you are just like a casual college football fan, you don't really you need your team to recruit well and well within the conference specifically. Let's real quick run through these rankings. USC, they are number 1 currently. Give me 1 second. They just refreshed on me. USC's
Guess who's
number
number
1.
one? Guess who's number one if you sort by average of the recruits on three?
I told you Oregon was on that. Yes, sir. Y'all are eating. I'll give you that.
Look,
But
man, and that's on two sites, so you can't say one side biased or the other, and there's
right,
agendas.
Georgia, they're number 2 currently recruiting. Texas A&M has a third ranked recruiting class. Notre Dame at 4. Alabama to round out the top 5. Then following Alabama is Ohio State at 6th. Oregon at 7. LSU at 8. Michigan at 9, and then Miami finishes out the top 10. Again, it is still July. A lot of recruits will actually commit this month. A lot will commit during their senior seasons, and then obviously early signing day is when the rest and the majority of the recruits will sign and decide. So keep an eye on these rankings. We'll talk about it a little bit closer to the season. Then again, maybe towards early signing day, we'll talk more about these rankings. But like Stefan mentioned, man, recruiting, it's especially with these sites, a lot of these teams play the numbers games, right? Obviously, USC and Georgia, USC has 31 recruits committed, Georgia has 27. So just by the pure amount of recruits that they're going to have, they're going to be in this system weighted a little bit higher than some of the other teams that have less recruits. But it's about the quality of the recruit. It's about the blue chip ratio, like you mentioned. It's about the 4s and the 5 stars that you're bringing in, and the quality of the 4 and 5 stars you're bringing in.
And I'm
And
pretty sure Georgia's average of the ranking of the recruits is still up there
I mean, it's
with
ninety
everybody else.
point five nine on 3, which is like top 10 still, but not 2
Okay.
overall.
Yeah, I see him right here.
Yeah, but my point being is if you recruit to fit to need as well as bringing in blue chips, then you're fine for the most part. Don't get too much caught up in the rankings. These coaches, these teams, these organizations are not looking at these rankings. They have their own boards, they have their own
They do their
rankings.
own evaluation.
Yeah, they do their own evals, so they don't really care about this. So you shouldn't really either. The truth is 5 stars do kind of matter though. Like if you do look at these sites and you do look at these teams that went on to win championships, they do traditionally are loaded with blue chippers. So I'm not gonna pretend like these guys don't know what they're talking about, right? Like they do evaluations too, but don't fall in love with this. Don't. This is not the law. This is not
Well,
a
it's so
fact.
much better nowadays than when we were little kids.
Right.
Just because information is so easily available, it's easy to get guys film nationally. Um, because it seemed like back in the day, there was a lot more guys that were ranked really high that ended up flopping, and it's just because you had more regional guys, local guys reporting on these people. But nowadays, with all these national camps, with all the combine information available for everybody, with the film available for everybody, you know what type of competitions everybody's playing against. I mean, the high school. recruiting rankings are just more and more accurate every year, and it is the best predictor of who ends up in the NFL. Like
Yeah.
all these people who are 5 stars, they have a really good chance of going into the NFL. Um, because they're just so athletically gifted. That's one thing people don't realize is to be a 5 star high school recruit, you have to be so athletically gifted, and we know that that's the main thing that's going to take you far in any sport. So yeah, there's guys here and there that might not pan out for whatever reason, but generally these guys that are ranked 5 stars end up being drafted. It doesn't mean that they're going to have a Hall of Fame NFL career or anything like that, but they usually go pro. So it's just a different age now, and a lot of people even nowadays are still kind of stuck in the past where they don't think recruiting rankings matter. They don't think the stars matter. They matter because just like you said, all the teams that are in the mix for the national championship at the end of the year are in the top when it comes to recruiting every year as well. So if you're an Ohio State fan, Georgia fan, Alabama fan, you don't really have anything to worry about in that regard. You guys, your teams are going to be in the mix for the playoffs and then for the national championship as long as they're recruiting well and they have the on field coaching that they've been having. You guys are going to be in the mix. It's just a lot of these other teams that you know
Right.
might have a super rabid fan base, but their recruiting isn't that high. They might be in the top 25, but to really be consistently winning championships, conference championships at the power level, national championships, you need to be in that top 10, probably even top five. So
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
yeah,
You got me.
yeah, I can hear you. Now I can if you're saying something.
All right. I think we're still rolling. I think we've been live this whole time. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Let's pick off. Let's pick up where we left off. I'll just obviously edit that silence out. Um, I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Talking about recruiting.
Do you remember what in specific?
Yeah, that like to win you need to be in the top like the top five or
Right,
whatever.
right. Okay, okay. Um, damn, I don't even remember where I really left off. You just wanna, I can count us in, or you just want to start talking about whatever take you have. Do you have any takes, any other takes left on recruiting, or is
Not really.
all right. So, like I said earlier, then we can revisit the rankings periodically throughout the rest of the summer and throughout the actual season. Um, yeah, my Gators, we need to wake up. We're sitting down there at 14 right now.
Yeah, what's going on with Florida?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I feel like our recruiting class is pretty good. Like I like the guys that we've recruited, like based on what I've seen. So I don't feel bad about our class. Like I honestly thought it would be ranked higher than 14 based on like I said, like the kind of recruits that we brought in, but I think it would be okay. I mean, it was kind of similar last year, and then if you go look at the rankings, we finished seventh. You know, obviously seventh is still fifth in the SEC, so that's our dilemma right now. That even if we do
Yeah,
finish
yeah.
top 10, like it doesn't matter because so we got to finish top five, and we're still far away from that. So I don't know. Bill, I don't really worry about Billy when it comes to evaluations and recruiting. I think he's kind of proved to us so far that he can do that, and he's also proved to us that him and his staff are able to develop. I mean, we have two. I don't know if people realize we've had two All-American offensive linemen since Billy Napier has been like at Florida. We have the best center in the country returning next year, Jake Slaughter. He was first team All-American last year. Then we had Osiris Torrance. He was a first round draft pick a couple years ago. And both of those guys were 3 stars. Um, I'm not going to sit here and give the whole spiel where I think Billy's going to turn every 3 star into a gem, but but the development is good. We have plenty of 4 stars. We've been grabbing 5 stars each year. I don't know if we'll be able to get one this year. We're in it for I think one of these wide receivers, Davian Gross or something like that, 5 star. But let's continue to load up. Let's win some games. I think that's really if we win some games, I think we'll be able to flip some players and we'll close out top 10. I'm not stressing. I'm worried
You
about the
think we're gonna
wins.
flip somebody?
Oh, for sure. We just got to win. Like I said, I think people want to play for Florida. They just uh, you know, unfortunately nowadays a lot of these younger kids are followers. You know, not a lot of leaders and trendsetters nowadays. A lot of
So playing for Florida is setting a trend.
well, I mean, nowadays, yeah, these kids that were it sucks to say, bro. It really does suck to say, but these kids that are now think about it. A 17-year-old was born in what? 2006? I don't know. That was bad math.
2007.
2008. So
What
they were
what
born
year
last
is
time we
it?
won a natty, bro. Like they don't know. The only Gators they know is 8-5, 6-6,
That's
10 wins with
crazy.
Dan Mullen for a couple years. You know what I mean? Like that's the Florida Gators they know. Like they don't know the Gators that I know that we know. So yeah, like I think unfortunately, I mean not unfortunately, I think that's how it works. Like kids want to play for winning programs. They want to go and compete for titles. Like I don't blame them, but I think Florida is one of those places you can do that. I just think it takes people to see that, or it takes these kids to see that. Like we know that, but not everybody's able to see that. So win some games, get 10 wins, even get 9 wins this year, and be a fringe playoff team. Maybe make a playoff. Yeah, we'll be top 10 recruiting again. I don't know if we'll be able to make a top five. I don't think we'll be able to flip and go crazy that crazy. You know what I mean? But I think we'll have a nice finish for sure. I'm not worried about it. We got DJ Lagway at the helm, man. Feeling good. Vibes are good. Vibes are good. But let's talk about a couple more things um, real quick before we talk about something that I found really interesting. Let's talk about Texas State joining the Pac 12. Um, Pac-12 now is technically the Pac-9 after Texas State was voted in unanimously by a board vote, giving the league its eighth football playing school, I guess, to technically be required by the NCAA as an FBS conference. Obviously, they won't be taking the field this year as the Pac 12, but in fall of 2026, they will play as a conference. So that's super exciting. For those of you who don't remember, the new Pac 12 looks like this: Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State. Um, who is this other Bulldog, Steph? Oregon
Who's the other
State,
Bulldog?
San Diego State, Texas State, Utah State, and Washington State. Yeah, I don't
Fresno
know.
is the other Bulldog.
I yeah, there's two Bulldogs. It's Fresno and who?
Your rival.
My rival. Is that Gonzaga? Oh, it's
Actually,
Gonzaga. It's Gonzaga.
yeah, but they're not a
They don't
football.
play
They don't have
football.
football.
Okay.
They
Yes.
also got Grand Canyon, who doesn't have football.
Grand Canyon's in the Pac-12.
Yeah, they're joining the Pac-12,
Well,
but they don't have football either.
is that fake news or is that real?
No, that's real. They don't have football though.
Okay. So yeah, Grand Canyon and Gonzaga will both as well be in the Pac-12. So they're at a
So
total
I,
of I
I
think 10 teams.
I think they have 12 people in basketball.
Okay.
It's just football. They have like eight
Eight.
because they
Yeah.
got Gonzaga and then
Grand Canyon,
and
like you said.
yeah, Grand
St.
Canyon.
Mary's? Is St. Mary's Pac-12?
Hmm.
Is St. Mary's Pac-12 or are they West Coast Conference still?
I don't know.
I know they're a basketball school. That's why I asked that, but that's fine. But yeah, any thoughts about Texas State joining the Pac-12? I think it's cool to add a Texas team, in my opinion. That's good for them as well. It
Yeah.
should definitely help them with recruiting and budget-wise. And I know Pac-12 is
They
not
were
a power conference, but yeah.
they were supposed to have some Texas teams back in the day, which we probably spoke about on here, but um, that's in the past. So this doesn't really surprise me that much. I think somebody like Texas State was somebody they were trying to add. We've seen that their program has potential to be successful, and I think they're going to be a good member of this conference going forward.
I definitely agree. I think they're I'm not going to call them a sleeping giant, but any program in a state like Texas, a state like Florida, a state like California, those are just talent-rich states where even the leftovers are what others would consider lobster, and you know what I mean. Like they got plenty of great players to go around to spare in the state of Texas, and they got a lot of money in Texas. A lot of money in Texas. I'm not sure what the budgeting and the funding and the booster situation looks like at Texas State, but I'm assuming um, if they're making moves like this, they're looking to be aggressive. They're looking to be future or forward moving and looking towards the future. And it seems like they are potentially maybe ready to pony up a little bit of money um, to potentially hit with the big boys because this is a solid football conference. I mean, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Oregon State, San Diego State, Texas State, Utah State, Washington State. That's all states, by the way. Every single school got a state that plays football. They're all the state schools. But those are some solid football programs. I mean, those have been some top G5 programs. Obviously, Oregon State has been, and Washington State were also two FBS programs more recently, but or Power Four programs more recently. But those are some pretty solid football programs, and this is something that would want to like rebuild and play with in college football 26. To be honest, this is a fun league. I'm excited for this league. But all right, let's talk about the big news before we get into our deep dive, and that is the lawsuit that Wisconsin filed against Miami for poaching Xavier Lucas, former or safety Xavier Lucas, he former Badger, current Hurricane, while he was under contract with Wisconsin already. So, if those of you who don't know, it's a pretty landmark moment in college athletics. I think this is probably the first time one university has filed a suit against another for backdooring a player. I mean, we've all known that. Um, what's the word? What do people call it? Where the coaches are secretly DMing players and stuff like that. I guess poaching is the
Tampering,
right. Say that again.
tampering.
Tampering, yes. Obviously, tampering has been around for a while. Um, so this is not new, but I think this is the first time a team has had physical evidence, as well as I think somebody just straight up breaching a contract. The University of Wisconsin and its NIL collective, they filed a complaint in state circuit court back in June against the University of Miami over just basically torturous interference, is what the documents have, according to Yahoo Sports. Like I mentioned, it's pretty much the first of its kind. Um, it's a move that has never really happened before with Wisconsin. They're basically seeking unspecified financial damages and a declaratory judgment deeming UM's actions are wrongful for interfering with a binding revenue share contract between Wisconsin and Xavier Lucas, who's a former defensive back that left the program in January to head to Miami. So that's interesting. So they just want money, and then they want Miami to just admit what they did. Like, yeah, written a written statement of yeah, we tampered, which is interesting because if they admit to tampering, I wonder if there would be any other repercussions taken on them by all these new. Who is it? The CRC that who was just not the CRC. We were just talked about it in the last episode. The new committee that they just made to oversee college sports and all that, or college football. But yeah, basically the lawsuit details what transpired in winter among the three parties: Wisconsin, Miami, and Lucas. Wisconsin claims that Miami communicated with Lucas, knowingly inducing him, despite knowing he had entered a contract with the school, something in terms as intentional interference that was not a justified or privileged caused Lucas to breach his contract. I also heard, this is just a rumor. This is what the E Streets were talking about. I cannot confirm nor deny this, so take this with a grain of sand. Heard that he maybe collected some of the money from the contract that he signed with Wisconsin. So maybe that's what some of the money that they're suing Miami for, some like financial damages. Maybe they're trying to collect some of that money back that he he got from signing that contract. I don't know what the amount was or what the terms of with that money. I'm not calling him a thief or say that he did anything wrong. That's just what I heard. Like I said, I don't know if it is true. But something else that is pretty important to note in this case, before I let Steph give his 2 cents, his opinion on this, is the Big Ten Conference is actually supporting Wisconsin in this suit against Miami. They came out with a statement and said, "We stand by our position that respecting and enforcing contractual obligations is essential to maintaining a level playing field. In addition to our legal action, we will continue to be proactive to protect the interest of our student athletes, our program, and the broader collegiate athletics community." So, excuse me, guys, sorry. So yeah, seems like there's a lot of pressure, obviously, on Miami from Wisconsin and the Big Ten. This news is a couple weeks old now at this point. So we are going to have to wait a few more as this court processing and rulings do take place. It does take some time. That's why I thought I would sit on it before I brought it up. But Steph, I know you heard a little bit about this. Talk to me just about your thoughts and just what you think on the whole situation. Because, like I said, this is not something that isn't done by every school, right? Everybody tampers. Just seems like Miami
Yeah.
got caught.
I think that this lawsuit might just be something that's trying to set a precedent for the future. I don't know if they're necessarily trying to win it or get money out of it, but that they just might want some rules to come out of this because it is a little crazy out there, and everybody kind of wants the rules surrounding tampering and player status and NIL to be, you know, have some structure. Everybody wants all this to have some structure. So I think when a lawsuit like this happens, regardless of the outcome, it kind of makes everybody sit back and go, okay, well, if we don't want this to happen anymore, we have to change the rules of what's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
That's really what I think this is all about. I think this is just a way to get some rules in place in the future.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out and what comes from this. Obviously, like I mentioned, Xavier Lucas is at Miami enrolled, and I do believe he's eligible to play this year for Miami. So
Well, and
he,
it's because, like,
he's a good player
think about
too.
it. Think about it. If these people are not employees, there's nothing that's stopping you from being able to
Right. It's just
contact
an
them
NIL
for
contract. It's not a
right,
yes.
right. And if you're a college student, you're allowed to transfer to whatever university that you want to transfer to at any time, regardless of obviously you have to get accepted, you know. But like if a coach wants to offer you a scholarship, then you can go there, right? So that's really what this is about. Like, are they going to be named employees? Because once they're named employees, then they can be under contract. And until then they're going to be able to transfer whenever they want. They can transfer every semester if they want to, because that's what every college student in the country is able to do. So that's really what this is about. Is just what is the rule? Because if they're not going to be called employees, then all this is just going to keep going forever and ever. Like, you're not going to be able to stop teams from tampering because, like I said, any college student is able to transfer whenever they want. Like, I'm in college right now. There's literally no rule stopping me from requesting my transcript, applying to other schools, and if I get in, I can go there. So that's really what it is.
Right. All right. Let's switch gears here then. Let's get into this college football 26 deep dive. We'll highlight some of the features, some of the stuff that they mentioned, um, and then we'll just get our overall thoughts off. We'll talk about some of, like you said, I know you've been watching some videos and some gameplays and some stuff like that. So, any overall thoughts or notes that you've already been taking yourself, we could talk a little bit about that as well. But all right, let's talk about gameplay, overall gameplay. Um, One of the biggest things that stood out to me that they confirmed and added to this year's game was dynamic subs. This is something that me and you both emphasized and stressed, and we're both a little confused as to why it wasn't in the first game, considering they had it back in all the other iterations of the game. But yes, dynamic subbing is back. Just use the D pad, press up, and then you can cycle through players in and out by tapping left or right on the D pad, just like the old days. I'm pretty sure the changes that you make do stick. So if you, it's not just on a play to play basis or a formation basis. I think it is like permanent, but you can change it per play. You can do it manually yourself. So I think that's super awesome control. Just your quick overall thoughts on that. Well, real quick, actually, before I get that, um, they also have filtered subs where you can streamline substitutions, and you can do something called defense sub, where you can manage your entire defense unit at once or quickly jump to specific groups like your linebackers or defensive line. On offense, you can cycle between your full offense, your skill players, or your offensive line, ensuring you make exactly the right sub at exactly the right time. Or you can reset to starters. You want your best guys back out there immediately. You can hit square or X on Xbox, and your starters are instantly back in. So, seems like they gave us a lot of control, a lot of different options. Your quick thoughts on dynamic subs?
Yeah, I think that's a great feature, because we all know that in college, the substituting and things like that is more crucial than in the NFL, just because you have way more people on the roster. Um, there's a lot more packages that people are using in games. There's a lot more players that go in the game in a real college football game versus the NFL, where there's only 53 people on the roster, and pretty much if you're dressing, you're probably going into the game in some capacity, unless you're the backup quarterback. Because even the backup kicker and punter usually go in the game because they're usually the ones that are the holder on extra points and field goals. So basically, the only person who doesn't go in the game on in the NFL is the backup quarterback. Um, Even backup offensive linemen are usually on a special team. Every backup that's dressing is usually on a special team. and they usually only dress five wide receivers. So even if you're that fifth guy, you're probably gonna go in the game because we all know every team has a five wide set. So
Hmm.
it's just different in college football. Where last year they had 85 scholarship players, I think now it's up to 105, and there's a lot more guys that are going to see the field um, in a college football game. So being able to swap out different players and things like that, especially with the wear and tear feature, um, being having easier subs is just going to make this game way more smooth to play because we all know how crazy it was last year, and then you're playing against somebody online, you can't really pause the game to sub people, and it was just a little bit annoying. And then you know now that there's formation subs and the dynamic subs when you're at the line of scrimmage, it's going to be way more smooth to play. So I'm excited about that.
Definitely seems like one of the better features to be added to this year's game, especially with how annoying wear and tear was, especially if you kept it on, which I like to do because it did that realistically. It just was a pain in the ass to kind of sub and to get these guys on and off the field and to keep them, up and healthy. And now this should really make that wear and tear experience feel much more easier to deal with and combat and not so suppressing. You know what I mean? I think it's a great change, and super excited to use that. Um, let's talk about 136 ways of Saturday. That's right, 2,800 brand new plays and 45 plus new formations. 2,800 plus brand new plays and 45 plus new formations. Um, with the arrival of 300 head coaches as well. Um, Playbooks are bigger and deeper than ever. Um, let's see what else they got. They added a whole bunch of gadget packages. Let's talk about some of those. Penn State Shotgun Gate, Penn State Swinging Gate variants, Ole Miss Wildcat Deuce Wing, Rice Pistol Wing Back, Western Kentucky Power Eye Hulk, ECU trips off over week, Duke Wide Y off trip stack are just to name a few. A new evolution of the veer and shoot offense built off of 11 new wide formations have also been included in the game. Those have different stack looks that stretch defenses, as well as different vertical options and quick RPOs underneath. Used heavily by teams like Duke. Um, I think that's awesome, man. I mean, I'm not surprised. I just think that's just something that they just continue need to they just need to continue to watch film of, study, and just continue to add to playbooks and continue to add real plays and real playbooks, not just the stock basic stuff that we've been using in Madden for all these years. And it seems like they're actually doing that.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be more than one bash play in the game this year because
Right.
Jesus Christ. There are some things I'm looking in, and I got to give them credit. There was a lot more than in the previous games. I have been playing Madden. I have not been playing Madden in recent years, but comparing and going back to NCAA 14 and before to now, there was a lot more plays and a lot more modern stuff that people are doing. So I got to give them credit there. But just having more and more is always going to be good because we know the game changes year after year. There's always going to be the new creative stuff that coaches are going to do, whether it's different shifts and motions and different route concepts and blocking schemes and things like that. There's always something new happening, whether it's in high school, college, or the pros. So being able to use that in a video game is always going to be good.
Definitely agree. Um, New motion types have been added. Reload, bounce, escort, and boomerang have been added to the game. These match the complexity of motion-heavy offenses like Kansas, Alabama, James Madison, Florida. Double motion plays. For the first time ever, you can move multiple players pre-snap. That means you can mimic the chess match seen in real film, like film on programs like Georgia Tech and Penn State, who like to do things like this. Um, whether it's sequential motions or dual motions at once, you can now shape shifts and formations, expanded quarterback run and RPO varieties. Um, Obviously, quarterbacks are the centerpiece of modern offenses now. In the RPOs, they're more involved than ever. From old school veer reads and modern pop passes to sprint out options and design QB powers. Um, Now you have options that Notre Dame, Utah, and dozens of other teams like to feature in their playbooks, where they truly, uh, where the quarterback, truly runs the show. They added smarter option routes. Um, they overhauled the route logic and schemes like run and shoot and veer and shoot. I did a Hawaii Dynasty for a little bit, and I was playing with that playbook. And the option routes were really underrated, I think, especially against CPU. I'm very interested to see how the logic changed with that, and to see if they made the receivers even better. Because I would say like 8 or 9 times out of 10, they would make the right read. Like you didn't even have to think about it. You can kind of just throw the option route, and they would probably be open, unless obviously, like I said, you're playing a really good player. But this new logic also fuels option routes across concepts like halfback choice, Hoss H, Hoss Y juke, and slot option. Um, like I said, I mentioned the gadget package formations. Um, so yeah, it'll be super dope to see all that new stuff added. Something else I wanted to talk about with the gameplay is field vision. Um, this has to do with the quarterback play, and something that they talk about is height matters. Now they introduced something called field vision, where it's like a real world challenge that a smaller or shorter quarterback may face. They said through conversations with coordinators across the country, one theme kept coming up: the importance of moving the quarterback's launch point and how interior pressure could impair vision. So they took that to heart. So now, depending on the quarterback you use, depending on the height of the offensive line or defensive line, you may have to like move the pocket, move out of the pocket. You may not be able to throw to certain wide receivers or see certain wide receivers. So I think that's pretty interesting. It could be annoying in certain situations, like if you're a Florida State fan and you got to midget at quarterback. But
It's funny
uh,
because I'm in a league with like 20 people
mhm.
and nobody picked Florida State. Like they had a draft, right? So it was basically the worst people could pick first. So they, allowed them to pick the good teams like Texas, Georgia, etc. And as it went down, nobody picked Florida State, which is so hilarious. And when you bring it up, the short quarterback thing made me think of that because that was one of the reasons I didn't pick them. I'm like, well, I don't want to use a midget quarterback, you know, especially when the rest of the roster isn't good. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. They enhanced the quarterback progression system. Higher rated quarterbacks, more elite quarterbacks, will quickly and efficiently cycle through multiple receiving options, reflecting the decisive reads and rapid decision making. Obviously, lower rated quarterbacks still struggle and go through the progressions slower and make slower decisions. Um, they mentioned how obviously last year in college football 25 there was a heavy reliance on the double mug and cover zero blitzes. Um, this year in college football 26, they've introduced an upgrade to hot read system and made significant enhancements to quarterback progression logic, double move recognition, overall blitz response. Obviously, quarterbacks with higher awareness now should have an easier time identifying multiple reads and different options immediately after the snap or pre-snap, mirroring how elite quarterbacks would diagnose and do stuff like that in real life. Um, they also mentioned the physics and how they continue to upgrade and make changes to their physics. They've elevated this year with their physics-based tackling, their PBT, to bring even more control, realism, and satisfying outcomes to every hit. Um, they added new tackle types: wrap catch tackles, in-range lunge content, unprepped hit sticks, um, and a whole bunch of other mechanics. They fine-tuned and added. Stunts and twists are now in the game as well. So trench work should be a big part of college football 26, having that D line and that offensive line ready to go. Um, they mentioned that they improved the smart blocking mechanics and the gap integrity and target system that the blockers and AI use to choose their blocks as well. So a lot of nice changes and overall good things that I'm excited to see. Um, I think we should go ahead and run through the top 25 offenses and defenses. Give our takes on that, and then we can go from there and see where we're at. Do you have any other takes about what I kind of just talked about when it comes to just the physics, the tackling mechanics, the blocking, AI logic, the blitzing, and all that? Just your takes on that.
I'm just excited to play it. Been waiting all this time. I think this game is just giving us more what we want as you know football junkies. It just looks like there's going to be a lot more customization, a lot more things to do.
Mm-hmm.
In every regard. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be better than 25. So I'm just curious to see what they do for this game and then the years going forward.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about these team rankings. Top 25 overall. The highest overall rated team in the game is the Alabama Crimson Tide at an 89 overall. Then there are 7 teams that have an 88 overall. Right behind Alabama, those teams include Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Clemson, and Texas A&M. And then below them, at the 86 overall, there's 5 teams. That's the Oregon Ducks, LSU, Miami, Florida, and Texas Tech. Then below them at 85 overall, we have Arizona State, Michigan, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Indiana. At 84 overall, SMU, Tennessee, Missouri, Auburn, and Duke. And then to close out our top 25, the final 2 teams at 82 overall, South Carolina and Illinois. So some interesting teams. I like that no team is currently a 90 overall or higher right now. I'm sure as the season progresses and they continue to update rosters and things like that, maybe a couple teams may get there, may not get there. But um, I have no true thoughts on the ranking or anything. I just would like to just want to read it off. As for the offenses, though, a couple of these teams have a 91 overall offense, 4 teams to be exact. Number one, Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, and Arizona State. Then at an 89 overall, Clemson, LSU, Alabama, Notre Dame, Florida, Miami, Indiana, Texas A&M. With 87 overall offenses, we have Georgia, Oklahoma, SMU, BYU, Baylor, Texas Tech. And with an 85 overall, to close out the top 25, we have Oregon, Ole Miss, USC, Boise State, Iowa State, Nebraska, and South Carolina. And then for defenses, Alabama's number one at 96 overall. Texas is number two at 94, as well as Penn State at 94. Then we have Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, LSU, and Texas Tech, all with a 92 overall defense. At 90 overall defense, we got Clemson, Notre Dame, Texas A&M. 88 overall, Tennessee, Indiana, Miami, Duke, Oklahoma, Illinois, Kansas State, Ole Miss, and Pittsburgh all have an 86 overall. And then to round out the top 25 with the 84 overall, we have South Carolina, Arizona State, Iowa, and Florida. So it's going to be fun to play with some of these teams. Although I'm not going to lie, in college football 25, I barely played with the Power Four schools. I touched a few of them a couple times in like quick play, but I was mainly just playing with a group of 5 schools throughout the whole time. And like we did that one thing where I played with Cal, like a random ass. So
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the real life rosters, oddly, because I'm mostly going to be playing in Dynasty anyways, where
right,
it's going to be all the players that I recruit. So it the real rosters and their overalls don't really concern me as much. But I am kind of happy that Oregon is not a mid 90s overall. So at least if I want to use them online, I'm not going to be playing against the same 2 teams every time.
right,
But um, I do think it is kind of interesting how there is nobody with a 90 overall. I mean, it seems like with this game in 25, they kind of nerfed the high end overalls
excuse
because
me.
even in Dynasty, when you built your team up and you were just kind of getting all the 5 stars, it seemed like the max overall you could get was like 94 or 95, and you would have the top overall in the country with that.
Right,
So
you'd be stuck. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, like back in the day, you could get a 99 overall team. So
true.
I
That
think
is a good point.
yeah, like I think it's cool to see. So um yeah, I think it's just interesting because like I said, you should be able to get everybody to 99. So I never even did the experiment where I would kind of just edit everybody's overalls and then see if I could make it 99. Um, maybe I'll do that in this game, but yeah.
All right. Well, Big 12 uh, Media Day was today. We'll talk a little bit about the Big 12 in general. We'll start talking and breaking down our season predictions, and we'll talk about all of that stuff now that football is right around the corner in these upcoming episodes. So, no more filler episodes, no more just news and off season stuff. We can finally start talking about some real football and what we think is going to come up. Um, in this next year. So make sure you guys tune in to our next episode as we talk a lot about that. Um, Other than that, I think we can wrap it up here. Anything else you would like to get into, or any other thoughts, Steph?
I think we hit pretty much everything.
All right. We will also, obviously, once we get our hands on this game and we have a couple weeks with the game, we'll also talk about our thoughts and we'll bring this topic back up and we'll have a little segment about the game. But yeah, man, overall, I have the same sentiment as you. I'm excited. I sucked at college football 25. I'm hoping college football 26 is it's my year. It's my game, and I can really I can get back on track. Um, but yeah, man, we appreciate all the love and the support. Um, Make sure you guys follow us at the Pigskin Live on Instagram and Twitter. Our reels been going crazy recently. We've been posting, so um, yeah, check us out there. Until next time, peace.